sit down with yourself before you open a business up and actually sit down and say to yourself, go somewhere, sit down, be quiet and let all the noise disappear around you and actually say to yourself, are you ready for this?
Hello and welcome to the Mindset and Marketing Podcast. Here at the Mindset and Marketing Podcast, we cover two things. One, mindset, two, marketing. Because we believe they're the most important things that you need to master to achieve everything you want in life. Today, I'm joined by the gorgeous Alan Carroll from Bloomfield Garages in Dublin. Hi, Alan.
Hey, Sharon, how's it going?
Good. Thank you for joining me today.
Thank you very much for having me on.
No problem. You are my first, because obviously Matthew is normally doing this with me. So I've had like lots of guests on, but you are my first male guest.
Oh,
no
very
pressure.
good. Very good. Get the champagne out.
We should have done that. I feel like I've let the side down, sorry.
We'll do it again.
I know. Well, listen, yes, I really appreciate it. So I think as with kind of all of our guests, we normally jump in kind of, the whole point is trying to get people out there, you know, thinking about starting their own business or maybe in the process of it at the minute and going through the ups and downs of that. So I think just before we jump into obviously Bloomfield Garages and everything that you're doing there, if we go back in time a bit, so before you set up Bloomfield Garages, was it a case where you were working for others? Like, have you always been kind of an independent business owner?
No, I left school at 15 years of age and went straight into an apprenticeship. Served my time in the one garage, which is closed now, and that was 4 years. That was college with Bolton Street. Stayed there for another year when I finished my apprenticeship, and then I moved on to a Volvo dealership. From the Volvo dealership I moved on to a Toyota dealership, then back to a Nissan dealership. And then eventually I ended up working for an independent guy, and I just said to myself, I was working so hard in the evening times, I said, look, it's time to actually go out and do my own thing. And I did. So I got an opportunity of a premises on the South Circular Road, Bloomfield Avenue, that's why it's Bloomfield Garage. And that was 25 years ago, Patrick's Day, March is gone, this March.
Wow.
And
Congratulations.
So I've been in situ down there for 25 years, and a couple of little ups and downs along the way. But sure, we'll get to those.
We'll get to them. We'll save we'll save those treats for when we get in. So whenever it sounds like then you were always in the field of kind of cars, repair and all that. Is that kind of, so you said you went to the apprenticeship, so it was always in your head, maybe not initially thinking I'm going to own my own garage, or was that the plan the whole time?
Like from early on, like around about 12 years of age, I had like my dad asked me what I wanted for my birthday, for my 13th birthday, and I got a lawnmower, a petrol lawnmower, and I was out doing my own thing. So you can take it from there that at 12 years of age I knew I was going to be out and earning my own money.
Wow.
And working for myself. So that's what I done. I repaired bikes. It was very strange. Nobody could repair a puncture on a bike, so I had these little mixers all the time of fixing tubes and taking wheels off and rebuilding wheels. So it's always been it's in me, just in me nature. And then when I finally got my jobs, worked for certain places, I would be able to see discrepancies, in the way things could be done. So I'd be quite good with organisation, and I kind of got fed up giving suggestions to the managers, and I wouldn't be a pushy person, but when they're not listening to, so I said, right, I got a chance. I got the lease on the building on Bloomfield Avenue, and I went for it. And then the real life took over.
But do you know what? Like, that's what we kind of talk. It seems to be like a common theme throughout. Like most of the guests who are now in a position where they've got successful businesses, they've they've built up, years and years of experience, in that sector or in that industry or whatever it is, and they've got all of that together and they've figured all that shit out, so that then whenever it comes to them opening up their own businesses, you're kind of putting your best foot forward. Like could you imagine trying to like jump in and do that without all that experience?
No, you need it. You most certainly you have to basically crawl before you can walk, and a lot of people jump forward. And in my own case, there wasn't a massive amount of funding, and basically I went in with the idea of, I'll open this up and I'll do all my own thing. But very quickly you realise, and this is for people starting out, that the whole fairy tale of going from having a job, I can only speak from a mechanic's background, but having a job and then working in the evening times doing your own bits and pieces, well then when the bits and pieces become your actual wages and your mortgage, and that's when it kicks in. The reality kicks in then, that it's great to have a wage, but then you have to, when you open your own business, your extra work that you've been doing at night time is not extra anymore. It's now your actual income. So that's when it gets real. It gets real,
And did you, if you can go back to when you first were kind of starting that out, obviously you said there that you had a bit of an entrepreneurial mindset anyway, from 12 years old, 13, trying to start a business then. But did you have any fears about it? What were the feelings, whenever you were first kind of opening that? Because it's different if it's just an online business, it still costs money to get up and running. But if you're in a physical location, there's overheads and everything that kind of come with that. What was going through your mind there? Were you just I'm fully committed, I'm doing it, we'll forget how, or are you going, oh, how are we doing this? What was it like? For
me, it was like every single Christmas morning rolled into one. And but for the little bits and pieces, the little wobbles you have along the way, it's basically that. It's still that. The main problem that you have is you have the ideas and you have the skills. As soon as you start adding people into your business, then it becomes something different altogether. You become a HR manager as well, as well as, and you have to, you're managing people then really. So a lot of your time is taken up making sure that you have the right people in the right places. And, a lot of the time what happens is that you get people in, they're 4, 5, 6 months in, and then all of a sudden, slip. And at the end of the day, I take it very personally. I think anybody who's in business does, whether they're, at the coalface every day or not. When you're putting the product out, which is our service, basically, I would always take it to heart. But now we're cruising along now at the moment,
Yeah, and that is a big thing. When we're talking to clients all the time, they'll always say one of the biggest struggles when you're growing. So you're starting up, and then when you're growing, you need to add more people to your team, so that you can kind of cover the growth. But they always do say that having adding people to the team is one of the hardest and also costliest factors to consider, because like you rightly said there, you get somebody in and on paper, they're great, and then also maybe at the start, when they're putting their best foot forward, everything's shiny, everything's brilliant, and then you really get to the crux of it, like you say, several months later, and sure, you've already invested that, that time and that money into that person. One of the big factors, even for us as an agency, whenever we're doing this, we had to, initially you're getting CVs and you're asking for people's work, to see, can they do the job? But now what we've done is more than that. We're now creating task lists. So we're getting people to actually do a bit of sample work for us. Before, we were trying to do all our groundwork, but what we realised was that still wasn't enough. And then we had to take it a step level now whenever we're onboarding somebody, a team member, and it's where they have to complete tasks for us so that we can see, the work that they've done and the capabilities and the attention to detail that they provide to it. And some people will say, I'm not doing that, because you're not paying me yet, which is fair enough. But at the same time, what's that mindset either then? You're kind of filtering out, some of the kind of time wasters, if you like, or the people who just aren't committed to the job fully, So it's a difficult one. When you said about at the start when you were opening up the garage and funding wasn't, kind of readily available, that's probably a big factor for a lot of people thinking about starting out. If you don't mind me asking, how did you kind of get the funding kind of sorted out for your first few months or whatever?
So basically what happened was my grandmother, who was my mum's mum, died. My mum has two other sisters. So when her will was, finished up and all her estate was sorted, my mum loaned me, was it £10,000, and I had £6,000 myself for the actual lease on the premises. That's how long ago it was. And that's how I initially got in the door of it. I also was helped out by a credit union loan at the time, and that was able to pay for my insurance for the year. It's one of the big things that you have to have in business when you start off. And I always say to anybody who's kicking off, don't wing it with no insurance. You need to have the insurance. Again, I think it's in everything you do. Even if someone's opened up a little coffee shop or whatever it is, make sure you've got insurance, because if you haven't got it and something happens to somebody, they will come directly after you and sue you. So it was one of the big things that I from the get-go is what I had. I had that. So I'd only bought a house, at the time.
And, all.
I'd only bought a house, and basically, it was an eye-opener, and it's still every day it just keeps on. It just keeps giving you little lessons,
So if you were, let's think about Alan's bought, he got the money up for the lease and he's got the premises, and here we go, let's get started. How did you then because obviously all that costs money, and then you need to bring the money in, to try and help make sure that your business is successful. How did you go about getting your first clients? How did that all work? Or when you opened the door, were they ready, waiting, or what was that like?
So basically what I done was, the garage was incorporated. It was an actual business buyout that I done at the time, which is not really heard. It's heard of a lot now, but back then there wasn't. It wasn't a lot of people doing it. And the guy, really nice guy, he had enough of the motor trade. He was 66. He was retiring. His son didn't want to keep on the premises, so I kind of bought out the business per se. Another thing that I found, and this is going to be very interesting for people, is they had ruined the business. They had shown me figures that didn't tally up, and they had overcharged everybody for about a year and a half. So by the time I got there and I opened the door for the first time, a lot of people were bypassing the business. So on top of opening it and putting that money in, then I had to actually I suppose, reimagine the whole thing. I had to win people back on the streets, and that was kind of going a bit above and beyond. That was going out and jump starting the car after 6 o'clock in the evening times, and it was just the little things. Somebody coming in, I need a little top up of oil, and all of a sudden then they started to come back. So within the first 12 months, I already had my own custom, as I said, the outside custom from my from the evening times. I was established. I had about 3 or 4 good years of actual customer base. But again, as I say to you, when you're doing 2 or 3 jobs on a Saturday afternoon or in the evening time, and it's just going toward with your wages, that's different. But when you haven't got the wages anymore backing you up, well then that's when the real stuff starts to kick in, and I did, and I rocked along. I was I got successful very quickly with the people in the area, and they've been very good to me.
Yeah, well, that's down to obviously your approach to it. It sounds like they had obviously been burnt, and then there was an opportunity there for that all to kind of be lost then on your part, but then you had to step in and kind of do the work. And it's so interesting because anyone who does think about opening, who's thinking about starting a business, they have, well, you want to have like the most positive, attitude towards it, so that, you're putting your all into it. But, also as a business owner, there's a lot of ups and downs, right? There's a lot of things that you can plan for as much as you want, but the chances are there's going to be something that was just out of your control, and you have to then switch direction or navigate, or like just get on top of it. And that's a big one, because you've obviously bought that over, assuming that, part of that buyover is going to be the majority. That's going to be the customers, because, and then you get in and you figure out something completely different. And instead of just going, well, this is a joke, I'm not up for this, you kind of figured out a plan and how to overcome that and get those people back.
Well, I suppose you hear it all the time, people with the different kind of like advices, and you're going to business seminars and this, that and the other, but at the end of the day, you just never give up. What's the alternative? Like, what's the alternative? You go home, sit there and lie under your covers and cry into your coffee? Yeah, you can do that, and that does happen. There is upsetting times, but at the end of the day, the results that you get out of hard work and turning up, and even saying hard work, just working, I'd even say to people, just work smart, Don't take on major projects that you can't get your hands on, because then what you're doing is you're promising something to somebody, you can't fulfill it, and then they get upset. So you didn't actually do anything really wrong. It's just that you let somebody down. And if you let somebody down once, they normally kind of, will go away from you. And you know what they say, people will tell 3 or 4 people about you when you do a good job. They'll tell everybody about you if you do a bad job. So
100%.
Yeah. So don't bite off more than you can chew. That's all I would say.
And would you say, like, on reflection now, and we'll get into the now shortly, but so it's 25 years. Was it more difficult at the start? Is it more difficult when you're in it more, or when you're trying to grow it, or is it just a bit of everything? Like,
at the start it was okay, because we had only bought the house and we knew what the costs were, so it wasn't too bad, and I got business pretty quickly. People knew then that I had a place to go, so instead of me going out to people's houses and stuff, they were bringing the cars in. From an early age, I had a mobile phone. I had a mobile phone in where I grew up in Drimnagh, in Dublin here. And I used to get some curious glances because nobody had a mobile phone. So I had this big block of an NEC, and I had like business cards. I mean, I never studied business in school, but I just had this innate sense that mobile phone, oh, hold on, and I'll get cards printed. So then people would ring me, it's what people just do naturally now. But back then, nobody done it,
But I do think, though, there are these traits that business owners tend to have, and they know how to market without even doing marketing. Like, they're already thinking ahead, and they're thinking, there's some people out there, and they're the not so successful ones, where they're maybe starting their business too soon. They haven't got the experience built up yet. They hit go, and they haven't thought about where their customers are going to come from or what's going to happen, and they're just hoping they put a website up where they open their door and people are going to come, but that's not the case for people like you and the clients that I'm talking to. Like, they've spent years getting to understand their market, and they've got connections, they've got connections somehow, somewhere, so that then when that door opens, there's going to be people there that know about it. And I think sometimes, business owners don't really give themselves enough credit, because that's definitely something that we always notice for any of the kind of people who are struggling. They don't understand the importance of kind of networking or spreading the word. So yeah, well done you. So when you started, was it just yourself then, or did you have...
So when I started out, it was just myself. About a year into it, I took on an apprentice to help me, because I would have been in and out. So part of how I grew the business was being there. So somebody gave me a call, I'd go to them. So I needed somebody though, so I couldn't close the doors. The very, very important thing is that your doors stay open all the time. We would have we'd have just lunch on the fly, just sitting on an L stool, a roll or whatever it was. But the main thing was that the garage, if I had to go up and collect parts, I realised very quickly that having the parts there the day before. So what happened as the business started to evolve, I had my diary and I'd know what was going to happen for the next week. So this is before the time of having planners and stuff. So your diary is a great planner. Like an actual diary is great. I say to people all the time. And I was recently speaking to somebody who works knows someone who works in Google, and he was saying, he says every one of them in behind their desk still has a paper, and they still have it for taking notes. Because it's impossible. It's impossible to keep everything in your head, and if you have too many balls thrown up in the air or plates, something's gonna fall. So bringing the apprentice in was fantastic. Knowing what was going to happen the week beforehand, also then you could plan forward. So basically, I would have some Monday morning, on Friday evening or Saturday afternoon when I finished work. I worked Monday to Saturday and sometimes Sundays as well. What I would do is I'd have the parts sitting there in the morning time, and I was working off one ramp. So I went from doing like 2 or 3 cars a day to doing maybe 12 cars a day on my own. But the only way of doing that is with organisation. So I would have the parts already sitting there. So say eight cars turn up all at once. You put one car in. It's just process. It's process. You need to have your ducks in a row when you're in business, or you'll find out very quickly that you're gonna end up out of business.
And that's the thing, like, thinking of, like you said before, and you've touched on it there, working smarter. So you have that day. And then it's understanding your profit margins, so you're like, okay, how many jobs can I actually do in this day if I get this right? And then like you're double, tripling, the profit margins there, so then on the flip side of that, you can potentially grow the business, or also you can decide, what, I'm actually going to swap it about a bit and I'm going to take the Saturday. You probably can't, but I'll take this day off now because I can actually fit everything here, and that saves me my overhead costs of the electricity and having someone cover and all of that. And again, I think that's down to like kind of figuring all of that out, because whenever you start, I'm sure even with all your experience, there's still a lot of kind of, like you say, daily processes that you don't yet know until you're in there. Because all of a sudden you're not just doing, it's probably easier to manage, like say you're doing the odd cars at the weekend versus, trying to fill a week full of work. So you're having to do that work, and you're having to manage the processes, and you're having to like then manage whoever else on the team that comes in to try and help with all of that. So all of a sudden it's not just a case of you showing up with your tools. You've kind of got to look at, you've got potentially loads of different hats on then at that point.
Yeah. What diversity is the way forward. I know it's a big word nowadays, but I mean in the business sense. So basically, what I set up from an early stage was I had a little jet washer. So somebody could can you wash my car? Can you do a little valet? So it wasn't just only servicing cars and repairing cars. I was also I'm very good. I'm good. I was good with the process of cleaning the car. So somebody come in, so I have a valet thrown in there. Then I'd buy 1 or 2 little cars that needed work. So I always reference the wheel and spokes. So the more spokes you have, which is revenue streams, the better. And it doesn't have to be like 1,500 quid. It has to be just a little bit of this, a little bit of that, and if it all comes in and it all happens correctly, within the day or within the week, well then you're flying. Another great thing as well is to have a marker, know what your costs are. So I loved doing it when I was doing it for myself, was that I'd have my diary and I'd know, there we go, 12 o'clock Tuesday, that's everything paid for the week. Do you know what I mean? That's everything paid for the week. And sometimes at the end of a week, it might be like my mortgage paid, it was the rent paid, it was, and my pay, on a really good week. So don't be afraid. I would say to people, don't be afraid to try things. Don't put massive amount of effort behind it, but do look at it and say, okay, what's the pros and cons of this? And you can always stop and it can change. Or you can say to somebody, if you get too busy servicing cars, you don't wash cars anymore. But while you're building that side of things, you have little add-ons, I suppose. Really, that's what I mean to say.
It's something that we always kind of say as well, as a rule of thumb, particularly when you're kind of, any business is, try and think of what else you can provide that customer, because if you're not going to provide, and it's in your niche or in your abilities, because if you're not going to provide it to them, someone else is going to, and then that other person might then do the things that your customer's going to you for, you know. So it's trying to like think of a way in which you can make your customer's life a bit easier, you know. And like they normally look at like convenience. Customers want to know convenience, like quality of service, and sometimes in a certain business, cost, you know. But mostly those two, kind of the convenience and the quality of service is a big one. So if you can make it convenient for them to get their car fixed, get it cleaned, and then it's all sorted there, you know, why would they not? And it's not that they have to take it on, but you're giving them that ability to then.
Yeah, it's an option. It's an option, and people just absolutely lapped it up. When I had the apprentice there, you know, if I was doing something that was really intricate that he couldn't put his hand to, I'd have him washing cars. So you might wash like eight or nine cars a day. You know, that could be like 70 or 80 quid, depending on what was done. And you get a little hoover out of it and do a tire shine. So like, for very little outlay, you're making yourself you have a nice return coming in. And it's just sitting outside the door. And it's only a hose and a jet washer. Actually, at the start there was no jet washer. There was just a hose, you know, and a bucket and a sponge.
We're going back in time here.
Back in time, yeah. But I was trained that way. The guy who I was lucky enough to get my apprenticeship from, a man who, you know, when we were in the workshop, if a car was going out, he'd no problem going down and getting stuck in and washing the car. Do you know? He'd just leave it sitting there. So it's be proactive in your business. Be proactive. That's it.
That's actually a good point. You know, especially when at the beginning, you know, you're going to end up having to do most of the work yourself, you know, and you're going to have to be prepared to do the bits that you like and the bits that you don't like. And I think that's valid, you know. Don't have an ego about it. Like, don't go in there thinking, I own this business, therefore I'm not doing X, Y, and Z, you know, especially for a startup, because, you know, if you're bringing people in, like, you don't want to then, you want to teach them the way that you know it and how you've done it. So if you're kind of just sitting there like with an ego at the front, you know, pointing the finger and not preparing to roll your sleeves up, I'm guessing that doesn't, you know, that would have an impact, you know, on the people around you who are watching you, kind of thinking, right, well, I mean, I think when it gets like years into it, obviously you're too busy to do X, Y, and Z, but I think at the start, you know, you have to remove the ego and you have to get in and get your hand, because as well, you're in the center of it then, so you're going to learn all the different things that you need to either adapt or change or develop, I guess. So we're after year one, and now we're in a position where you've got the two garages, right?
No, at this so year one, and that went on for kind of I'd say that went on for about 10 years, you know. And I had other mechanics then work with me, so I would have had a mechanic and an apprentice, and we were operating out of the one ramp garage on the South Circular Road. And then I got the idea into my head that it's, you know, this is so big, I'm gonna expand. So I did, and you know, the dates are a blur, but we'll quickly skim across it. But this is the Icarus story. I don't know if anybody's listening knows who Icarus was. You know, it's the guy who made the wings out of wax and feathers and flew too close to the sun. Well, I didn't fly too close to the sun, I flew through the sun. You know, I had all the blisters. I still have one or two of them under my skin, but listen, I've worked through it.
Smiling.
Yeah, I got really big really quick. That's basically what happened. I went from 4 people to 18 people within like 9 months, and quite honestly, that was ego driven. So what happened was, I got an opportunity of a premises up the road from me, and it was like, you know, between one premises was like 3,500 square feet, and then another one was like 8,000 square feet. So it was huge. So I always wanted to have a one-stop shop, and it's still in my head at some stage that we're gonna do. It's actually, and the intention is to open the showrooms, have our service department within the place, and we have our display area for our cars. What happened was, I went ahead like most dreamers do, and if we had no dreamers, we have no world. Okay, so I went ahead And I'm still proud. I'm very, very proud of myself over this. I've done a remortgage on the house and put the money in and renovated this one workshop. Then I got another workshop, and as I say to you, a one-stop shop is the actual dream for anybody. So what happened was I was getting body work done, which is paint repairs and crash repairs. Cars kept coming back done wrong. So I said, right, next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to open a body shop, a crash repair shop. So I did. It's a whole other ball of wax. A very good friend of mine, Frank Trunk, he's an old friend of mine. He's about 83. He's still buying and selling cars with me. Really good, really nice guy. And he just said to me one day, I'll give you all the information you want on this, he said, Al, but come back to me and tell me it all worked out. Anyway, first of all, I'm not a panel beater, I'm not a painter. So then this is the part that's very interesting for people. It should be, stay in your own lane. Do you get me? Stay in your own lane. You go in and you start meddling with stuff that you don't know. So firstly, what happened was the costs spiraled out of control with the paint shop. Okay? Guys that knew how to use paint systems. So when you have a paint shop, you might have a wall that's about 15 feet long with different mixers and painters and tinters. Anyway, I don't want to go off on a tangent. Basically what happened was I was getting absolutely fleeced. Okay? And I didn't know how to actually control that. So that carried on for about 2.5-3 years. I opened another workshop because we mainly specialise with BMWs and Minis. We're independent BMW Mini specialists. Very, very good, by the way. And what happened there was the guys that worked on the BMWs didn't want to work on Nissan Micras. So then I said to myself, right, I'll set this whole other place up, which I did within the confines of where we were. And it went really well. We started getting some contracts. Again, it's people. What I'm going to come around to with this story is it's people, time and time again. You promise them, you follow through, they don't. Then there's pushback. So the biggest problem that anybody, I think, is going to come up with, besides lack of business and funding, the biggest problem will always be, and it is a problem, is staff. You know, and what they say, you've got to kiss a lot of frogs before you get a prince. But as I say to you, if you've got 18 people and you have people in positions to control it, but they're not even telling you the truth. I learned something later on after this all went. Anyway, it all went to hell in a handcart because the world fell apart. You know what happened. Everybody knows. If you weren't in that recession or if you were in space or something, I got the caning of my life. I never let the place go down on Bloomfield Avenue, and I just dusted myself off. We voluntarily liquidated because we literally just ran out of funds, and in my head I thought the dream had died. I said, this is it. Maybe I'll get a job somewhere. Maybe blah 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 blah. Anyway, I didn't. I kept my book of clients, and I relocated back to where we were on Bloomfield Avenue, back to the original workshop. Went back in at the weekends, painted it up because I had leased out to guys doing valeting, and they had ruined the place. I went back in, painted it back up, got my toolbox, went back in because I hadn't been on my tools, got a pair of overalls, got a monkey cap, snap, started again. And this is it. Start again. If you give up, you're giving up. There's nobody, like, it's the old thing, when the lights go off, there's only you. That's all it is. And this thing and obviously I was a lot younger then, so I'm this and that, it's your fault. And you have got to do the Michael Jackson on it. You have got to start with the man in the mirror. And when you look in the mirror and go, okay, everything that's went before, you had an option to stop it. And you didn't. Okay? So
was that a harsh conversation?
It was instantly I was both gratified, I was ashamed, I was sad, and then the happiness came back through, and then I got back to what I do, which is make things work, and I do. I really do, and I have the team we have now are fantastic altogether. So that's a distant thing. It's in the past. It's retrospect. Retrospective is all we're looking at.
It shows though the strength as well, because some people wouldn't have been in that situation, and we will get to now where we are now. So it was definitely worth going through all of that. But what kind of made you just look at yourself in that moment and say, do you know what, let's do this again. Like, I'm not giving this up. Compared to like maybe just going and getting the job for someone else, or was it just that you were just going, I can't even see myself, doing that?
No, I mean, getting a job for somebody else, I might as well jumped off a cliff. Do you know what I mean? And there was dark times. Let me just tell you, there was dark times. And there is with people, and I can see how it happens very, very, very. I can see, and I really have. I have, I have the utmost respect for people. That they say to themselves, right, that's it, I'm done. Because then they can say, look, I'm going to move on to something else. Okay, so at least you've made a decision. But procrastination, just sitting there and I'm going to do this, I'm going to do that, and maybe I'll do... No. And on top of this now, at this stage, I have 2 children, a lovely home. I had literally come back with zero, with no money. I had no money in any bank account anywhere. I had suppliers coming on top of me for stuff. I relocated back to my old premises, even though we were limited companies and they were voluntarily liquidated. People, it's Ireland. They don't realise that limited is limited. They keep on coming at you. And that was hard. That was really hard. That was hard to every day go in there and just keep my head down. And somebody snipping in. But I've done it. And I'm very proud. I'm very proud of myself and everybody who was involved.
Yeah, you should be. And that's the thing, it's not just a job, it's your life, isn't it? It impacts everything that goes on around. You need money to live. So you've got a family, you've got a roof that you need over your head. And, it takes on just a huge, overwhelming, pressure pot of just what's going to happen here. Is someone just going to explode? Or, and trying to then manage that. But, when you look at all the extremely successful business owners in the world, they'll all say that they had to reach rock bottom, in order to then find the niche and that sweet spot. And then that just, I don't know, the learnings and everything from that, and probably not wanting to feel, that way again, is just then taking all of that horrible energy and then using it to provide or focus on a future that you did want and that you knew you could get based on everything that you'd done. So well done you for getting through that, because nobody could imagine how hard that would be. So you got back into it, and now here we are, 25 years going strong.
In total, yeah. We're absolutely flying. We just recently, 2021, I think it was October, and they're just about to shut the whole country down, and blah blah blah. We all know what I'm talking about. And there's me up on the Green Hills Road, and my cabin is getting installed onto our new car sales business. So we're spokes and wheels, and cars are just, for me, it's, you wake up and it's some sort of a car. It's a car. It's it's not only just my what I work at. It's hobby. It's passion. It's excitement. Do you know? And that's what I think we bring through our business as well, is the excitement. I have a young dynamic team there now that all have great ideas, and they're very good at actioning the ideas as well. So I'm very open. I'm always open for people to come up to me with new ideas. A big thing is that you have to be open to other people's ideas, okay? Because you don't know everything, and you're never going to know everything. But we're in the pursuit of knowledge. I believe that's why we're here on this earth. No matter what way you pray or you don't or whatever it is, but we are here and we have intelligence, and it's a God-given right to actually use it, and all that potential is inside everybody's given the same potential. It's just they don't use it. Don't blame. The blame game is a very, very slippery slope. And
it's something we always say as well, if you're the smartest person in the room, then you're in the wrong room. It's like you're trying to surround yourself with people that you can learn from and grow. Otherwise, how are you going to develop? Now, obviously, some people will be listening or want to start a business and they're happy just kind of at this level. But, that becomes quite challenging whenever, the cost of everything is higher. So it's hard to stay at that level if the costs are higher. And then as well, you'll get more competition out there. So you need to up your game a bit. So it's always trying to you might think that you can stay like this, you've got this nailed and you'll just operate in this way for the next 50 years until you're finished. But the market and the customers dictate a wee bit, that you need to kind of give more or, know more, because there's just so much competition out there. Whenever you kind of, so now you're like growing and you're flying. Obviously, the last time you tried to grow, it was kind of done maybe in the wrong way. You'd said there, was it just too quickly, or taking on the areas that maybe you weren't an expert in, or like what was the difference between that growth versus this growth now, or is it the people?
Basically, what happened was there were multi-million euro dreams that I had on like $100,000 budget. So there was no contingency. That's a big thing you learn. So every single week, like if you start out, again, for people who are listening, you start out, for God's sake, remember you have a partner. And they're going to say, oh, I have no partner. Oh, you have a partner. It's called income tax. Revenue are in bed with you. Boo. But let's face it. I'll tell you what, test them and find out and see what happens. You don't want them crawling in. And at the end of the day, whether you think it's right or it's wrong or whatever it is, if you get stuck, I know plenty of guys who, getting back to how it's different this time. It's different because I'm older, and all the experience that I thought they were mistakes, they're not mistakes, they're lessons. If you keep on repeating the same things, so then they're mistakes, then you really need to say to yourself, look, we have to do something different here. Going around, what did he say? What did he say about madness? If you keep on repeating the same things over and over again, it's madness. It's absolute madness, like. So this time around, what's happened is we're a lot more solid. We have contingencies in place. We're very, very keep a really close eye on the figures. We don't willy-nilly just employ people. You don't just bring somebody in because the guy that's in there like a month or two, is feeling a bit of a strain because he was asked to hoover a car today or blah blah blah. No, hoover the car. Do you know what I mean? You're not going to employ somebody else in for 30 or 40 grand. And then all of a sudden, all they're doing is doing the work that's, and everybody has their part to play. It doesn't matter if it's me or it doesn't matter if it's the guy who's valeting the cars or whatever. It's all integral. Without that person cleaning the cars, the person coming in to see the cars is going to go, that's a dirty car. So they're as important as my input. And I treat everybody like that. And I love all my staff. They're great. I actually love them. They're great staff, and they really put in for me. So I have an awful lot of people now this time. A lot less people. Currently we're employing, we've got 8 staff in total. That's spread between the service department and the sales department. And everybody's on point. They need little touching in here and there every now and then, but the guys that I have are just, everything clicks. Yeah.
Night and day then. Well, that's like whenever you look at, even outside of like a business perspective, if you're looking at like a team from a sporting perspective, the team, there's not an individual that makes a team. It's obviously how they all get on together. There's a manager there, there's the people on the team. They have to all kind of have that connection, and if they're not, the results don't come in. And it is so important for anyone who does hire staff or who has to in the future, is just really thinking about how you introduce them. Make sure that the right training is there for them so that they can feel confident whenever they come in. But also after that, like that you've got your check-ins. That if it's either like a quarterly review or whatever, and it can even be a case of assigning like not a mentor, but you know what I mean, somebody within the team that they can kind of go to, and just, it's just so important, because I tell you, it's worth it in the end whenever, you know, you get to 6 months down the line and they're fully integrated and they believe in, you know, your business the same way that you do, you know, because if they're treated well and they're not feeling that hierarchy, you know, they know their job's there and that's what they have to do, they're going to feel then the same way that you do about the business. They're going to come in and they're going to feel good. It's going to impact how they do their day and how they show up to your customers. And yeah, like I totally agree with you in terms of like the team. Like it is a big one. So yeah. So
if you go.
Oh yeah. No,
if you have just if you what you need to, it's like it's so many old analogies, but if you, one rotten apple will ruin the whole basket. Do you know what I mean? So it's I've found of late, you know, in the last couple of years since since the resurgence of the business and the new way of looking at it, I'm constantly refining it. Only slight little refinements here and there that even the guys don't even know I'm doing. But I'm constantly thinking about what's the next move. You know, I'm not running ahead of myself. I'm calmer in my mind. So if I'm calmer, because, you know, somebody pointed out to me quite rightly one day, a good friend of mine, James, said, remember, you're the anchor. You're the one. You're the person that's there. If your energy's off and you're in the middle, and it's a whole different podcast maybe with energies and stuff, but trust me, you know, Tesla invented that kind of, there's a very famous scene where he's at the World Trade Fair and he's in the middle of this cage and the electricity's bouncing all around the place. And he said, just because you can't see electricity doesn't mean it can't kill you. So electricity, energy, you have to be in the right frame of mind. If I'm not in a good humour, I won't go near the business, because people will read it off you and then they feel a little bit kind of lackluster. But what I would say to anybody starting out is, when you employ people, you promise something, make sure you follow through, you know. And when you're having the reviews of them saying, look, I've done this for you, this and this, I said I would, now you haven't done this. And do it, because when people are checked when they're checked and when they're brought to task on their shit, they'll either pull themselves up and move forward at a stronger pace, or it's time to go. And don't be afraid to let people go. And I mean, I've let guys go that literally could build you a car out of nothing, and because of their ego and because they wouldn't gel well with people and they're causing trouble in the business, out. And I could have done with keeping them there. It's not only about the money. It's not the money. It's the achievement. It's the result. It's the full package. It's people going, Jesus, they're great. They're a great bunch of lads. And look it, you see yourself every day. There's loads of keyboard warriors. You get people all the time. Click. There's a 1-star review and nothing underneath it. When we see them, we think, thank you very much. Because Sean, my son, runs sales and he will take on the whole business eventually. Basically, he's like great. You want to see you've probably seen some of the reviews, and underneath, oh, how you doing? Yeah, just send us your registration there, because we no record of you. And then people, you know, underneath to go, oh, because you have to answer back. You know, integrity keeps coming up for me all the time. And I looked up the meaning of the words the other day, and it's basically, you have to be upstanding, you have to be very honest with people, and even if it hurts and even if it's going to cost you, don't be telling lies. Tell the truth. You know, I've had people come in to me that have their cars for 15 years, and I come in and I say to them, look, that's it, it's a wrap. You can't, there's no more we can do with this car. I can't take any more money off you. I just won't do it. It's not right.
These days people do always do the research online, so it is important to, like, you know, be professional and show up online to those 1-stars as well, and kind of say, hey, you know, like you said, send me this and this. Because the thing is, a lot of people, now it's dirty work, but, you know, there'll be competitors who are the ones going on and doing that, you know, or something like that. And, you know, and for you to kind of, for people that like just hide all, because you can delete sometimes the stars as well, but like, I don't think that's the right thing to do. Someone sees 10,000 reviews and it's all 5, it's not all 5 out of 5. It's not possible. It just seems something's not right there. So I think you're right. Just being truthful and honest and showing up professionally to kind of anything like that as well. Which brings me on to kind of the last question I want to ask you around, because yours is obviously a physical business. We're going in, buying cars, getting them serviced or repaired. How much? But you also have your online presence too, so your website and your social medias. How much importance do you believe that your website and your social channels, because your socials are flying at the minute, by the way, congratulations. It's like getting thousands and thousands of views. So how important is that side of the business, even though you're not an online business?
It's absolutely, it's everything. It's the way the world is. You either move forward with what people want and how you're received, or just close up. You have to be proactive on the website of things. On the internet. It's not my massive foray. So with the videos that Jay Kavanagh and Sharon Carroll, my son, are doing, the little cars and coffee. They're just two young guys going along in a car, having a bit of a chat. It's amazing. It's bringing such great people are getting great fun out of it. The business is just growing and growing and growing. Like, it's we started the other week. We started a month ago, pinpointing like Cork and Galway, just to see. And all of a sudden we're getting people from Cork and Galway. So we're spending money in certain places. We're getting the results. And the online presence, you have to have it. It's as important as your now. It's actually now as important as the physical presence, because everybody's just Googling. That's it,
I know that's what kind of, obviously, because we're in the space of digital marketing, we always do believe that, but at the same time, we want to get real answers from business owners as to what their experiences are with it. Can you imagine, like, if for example, your website or your socials, you just brought them offline?
Yes, it would have a negative
effect.
Have
an impact in your business?
First and foremost, people just think you're like, I don't know, I can't give you percentages, but I'd say a big amount of people who come to us have heard about you, hear that crowd online, or do you see those two guys, or blah 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 blah. Like, they would think you're closed down. If my Instagram disappeared tomorrow, or Facebook, or most people go, oh, that page is down. What happened there? Or, so I think it would be. I still believe in a good phone line. I'm not a big WhatsApper. You know all this. You Matthew know how but literally, like, I if you want to contact me, I say to the lads all the time, there's something really important, phone me. If I don't answer the phone, I'm busy, but I'll see your call and I'll ring you back. But I WhatsApped you an email about a link, about this, that, just stop the crap. It's bullshit. Especially when you're talking to the person who has built the business and you need information from them. And they're telling you, don't WhatsApp me. Don't give me a message. Just ring me. And then we can work through. I'm about to send you a few photographs. And that's for me, because I think it's been fantastic with the internet and stuff, but it also takes up a lot of time. And obviously you guys, it does take a lot of time. It does.
Oh, 100%. It can be quite before I jump into that, WhatsApp, I feel the same as you. I don't mind WhatsApp for like personal chit chat, but on business, I find it so difficult because you can't, it's not designed for that. They have a WhatsApp business account, but it doesn't do what you need it to do. So I can't flag those chats until I see them again. And then I might lose it. And then I forgot about it. And next thing, it's not done. So I'm always saying to our clients, please, if it's important, send me an email or phone me. Don't leave it to WhatsApp, because it's just, you can't organize it. But yeah, I think, like, in terms of, the whole social side of things, it can be for businesses, especially when you're starting out, and getting a website and all that. It can be quite costly to try and get those things done. And look, we are the same as you, Alan. Like, we always tell people, educate themselves, because, you could, if you didn't have the money, but you have the time, you could figure out how to get, your website and your socials up and running and continuing that until you have the ability to, have some budget for marketing where you can then invest it in, because it is this, especially with the social side of things. If you aren't doing it in house, it can be quite costly for businesses. Whereas if you can master that, you know, yourself or in house, because the proof is in the pudding, you're then able to, you've got a physical location. People have to walk by that to see it, unless you're doing all those other things, like making those phone calls to your network of people, or, you know, on social media you can target different locations to get more people's eyes on your business, you know, and then they make the trip. So yeah, I'd say for anyone out there, it can be costly, but 100% I agree. If you're
I'd
not
say
online,
at this stage, especially if you're a
definitely
startup,
missing, you know, an opportunity.
you're gonna miss maybe half, maybe 60% of the business that you're trying to go after, because nowadays, like for ourselves, like, to be quite honest with you, because we're so long in business, our phone number, people will still, we have an awful lot of, because of where the garage is located, we've seen like the street that it's on, Bloomfield Avenue in Dublin 8. So basically we've seen it going from all the houses along there being kind of like let into like 6 and 8 flats. Now it's all turning back into people that have they're affluent. So it's an affluent area again. So Dublin 8 is really kind of, it's mirroring Dublin 4, and the houses are gone crazy. So now you haven't got like a lot of like flats and apartments. Now you have families back there, and they're renovating the houses, and it's all just getting, you know, it's all lifting up. So what would happen is, we're on a street. A good guy that I knew a couple of years ago said to me, he went and made the mistake. He opened up a big massive place up in John F. Kennedy, somewhere like that, and he had been in the middle of town. I won't say where it was. I don't want to, you know, just in case he happens upon it, and I don't want to give names, but he's a really nice guy. But his voice was, the sorriest thing I ever done was left the chimney pots behind. You know, it's like everything. It's like buying a house. It's like whatever. It's location. You know, we have, like, literally, even if we had no internet. See, we're not in some sort of a business park where you're driving past 15 other garages. We're bang smack in the centre of town. So for us, we could possibly wouldn't really suffer massively from it. But anybody starting out, you have to have it. You know, be one of the. In fact, that'd be one of the things I'd budget for first. Would be have your social media set up properly. You know, on your website. That's it. That's a recommendation. Yeah. Because things have moved on. Yeah. I had a website 20 years ago. You know, when people were going, "What are you doing that for?" So nobody, what's that internet thing? And I had a website. I got a website built. Yeah. And I don't know where. Do you know what it was? I read a book. If this is any good to people as well, I read a book, and I can still get it actually, because I actually passed it on to somebody yesterday. On audiobooks. It's the E-Myth. So that's an absolute E-Myth. Yeah, like mythical myth. M-Y-T-H. Get it. Read it. It's a Bible. It's gonna tell you about being. You're not only a mechanic or a carpenter or a coffee man. You're now the person who orders the parts. You're now the person who pays the bills. You're the one who deals with revenue. Blah 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 blah. It's just, you know. And then what you do is, if you're gonna add somebody in, that person has to be able to split those duties then between yourselves. So that means that you have more time to do what you do. So if you're the creative side of the business, well then you can be creative. You know, you're not just solely stuck, you know, in the actual mechanics of it, so to speak. You know, so be very careful. And then partnerships, a quick one for you is, partnerships, just be, and I mean, it could be a brother, your sister, it could be the best friend you ever had in life. Trust me, employ a best friend and lose a friend in his 4 weeks' wages, because they're gonna. It's madness. It's madness what it does to people, and it's that thing of sitting back and like, oh, but sure, I know you years, or just employ people, check out their credentials, and stay a little bit aloof from them. Have a little bit of mystery about you, because what happens is they get to know you like every human does. Then they become your friend. Not only do they become your friend, they become your equal. Then they become, we're all made in the same likeness, blah blah blah. But they become then, oh, you just go and tell them to do something. Avoid going out on nights out. All that kind of stuff. It's not professional. I learned all this because I done all this. I went out and I had fun, and it's not about that. Treat your staff well.
And you know what? Yeah, and you'd obviously mentioned your son works for you, and it's different, I think, when it's family, you know, as well, because there is a level of trust there, you know, that goes beyond just those business walls. Like I've had loads of friends even who end up, you know, moving in with a friend, and then it's the worst thing that's ever happened because the dynamics have changed. You know, it's a completely different atmosphere now with completely different things to navigate. And yeah, I've heard that loads before, in terms of even that, never mind getting into the business and there being that level of hierarchy, because at the end of the day it's your business, and you know, X, Y, and Z needs done, and it's the way that you want it done. Well, I know you'll listen to feedback and all of that, but you know, the buck stops with you because the pressure stops with you too, you know, and all the worries of getting the payments made and all that. And yeah.
And it's another thing I learned along the way is boundaries. You know, that was something that's in personal life and business, you know, because if you give people enough rope, they'll hang themselves, but there's somebody else they could hang as well, and it's you. You know, and they can actually bring you down with them. So avoid these massive nights out. Yeah, you have Christmas party, whatever it is, great. But even at that, keep your composure. You know, don't let your staff all of a sudden think that you're best mate, and you know they can turn around and say to you, I'm not doing something, because that's what happens when people become friendly. That's it. You know, and I am friendly. Yeah.
Do you think boundaries? Yeah. Well, I know you are. I do think boundaries are like a big thing. You know, I know even when I started here like 5 years ago, you know, Matthew and I were just working through what the boundaries were, you know, for him and I, because he is the business owner, but he was asking me to come in and kind of take hold of everything. So it was like trying to, you know, figure out where my responsibility stops and where, you know, his then would come in. And it's just so that we're all clear, so that one, I know that then I'm doing my job right, and I know where I can still get support from, you know, that way. So without all of that, you're kind of just up in the air, and it can get a bit agitated. And it took us a few months, Matthew will agree, to like figure out, you know, what they were. And then it was a benefit to us all when that happened. But see, before you go, Alan, we normally ask one question, and it's like, if you could give like one mindset tip to like people out there who are thinking about starting a business, what would it be?
Sit down with yourself before you open a business up, and actually sit down and say to yourself, go somewhere, sit down, you know, be quiet and let all the noise disappear around you, and actually say to yourself, are you ready for this? You know, or as you should actually say, because a lot of people neglect the little 6 and 7 year old that's inside us all. Are we ready for this? And when little Al and big Al all say to themselves at once, yeah, let's go for it, well then do it. But do as much research as you can as possible. But at the end of the day, there's that little step over the precipice. Do you know what I mean? It's like the bungee jump. It's like you have to go. You're never going to go anywhere. You're never going to achieve anything unless you actually put one foot in front of the other. And that's what I would say to people. And find out, even if you are qualified. And again, I'm just going to speak mechanically and car head from point of view. Know what you're doing. Know the area that you're opening up, and if at all possible, specialise. Specialise is the way forward. When you specialise, and I mean, you don't just write it over the door, but you actually have the knowledge with a certain vehicle. So we're BMWs and Minis, independent BMW Mini specialists. Just in case anyone's listening out there from BMW, we got the trouble over that before as well. You know, yeah, well I learned it, and when it hits you in the pocket, you learn very quickly. And you have the biggest car brand probably in the world that goes after you with the full extent of the law. That's another day. But anyway, I learned from lessons. But what I'm saying is, be sure of what you're doing. Know your product inside out. And if that's you going along and doing hedges and cutting people's gardens and taking their leaves away, well, know it and do it. Like, you know, you'll hear Grant Cardone all the time talking about the first thing he ever done was a busboy. But he wasn't just a busboy. He was like, he knew everybody in there. He knew every cook. He knew the people who delivered. He got to know everybody. And it was only a small job. Just do it. And do it with passion. and love it. Love what you do. Do something that, you jump out of bed in the morning. People, a lot of people, have written about it and stuff, but I'm actually telling you, as a person, something that invigorates you. Yes. Make it, let it be your hobby. Let it be the reason why. When you have a spare moment, you're thinking about, what can I do here to make it better? And then go for it and push the button. Push the button on it. Keep an eye on your costs. Keep an eye on the costs as well. That's obviously, if you have no money, it's no fun. It is no fun. No fun. A lot of long walks with a poor out Labrador, I can tell you.
I like that one. I like that one. And you're still smiling, and you're still going to yourself, this is the past. No regrets, as hard as some of these low points were.
It's the past. All we have is the present, really, That's it. Like, tomorrow hasn't happened. Yesterday was yesterday. So what we have right now, as I'm speaking to you for the last 40 minutes or so, that's what we have, And be careful of the tricks your mind will play you as well. Be careful, because your mind is a quite a nasty adversary, that people think it's grand, but your mind will use little tricks like old memories or old. Don't, just stay in the present, in the now, and go for it.
Yeah, I think that's great advice, and that's obviously being Mindset and Marketing Podcast. We also know the power that the mind can play, and I think for people out there listening, there is obviously it's a big leap when you're starting something new, but at the same time, like Alan has talked us through today, 100% worth it if you get it right. And I think, Alan, I appreciate you sharing so honestly with us today, because I think that does help people understand and see that nobody just hits the ground running and loves life from the moment they open the front door. But the thing is, in the end, it does pay off if you kind of, like Alan said, one, you get the experience behind you to start with, and then from there you get the right people behind you, and any mistakes along the way are not mistakes, as Alan said, they're lessons unless you keep repeating them. So yes, thank you so much, Alan, for joining me today. I really appreciate it.
Thanks, Sharon. Thanks very much, and it was great being on. Great.
Good. Well,
my first ever podcast.
You nailed it. For anybody who is local and obviously needs servicing, repairs, or looking for a new car, check out bloomfieldgarages.ie. I've been there myself. The guys are amazing. The staff, the offering, all of it. So do check it out if you're kind of in the Dublin area, or what areas do you kind of cover?
We have the Greater Dublin area. We stick within Naas. Naas would be we have people come from all over the country for the specialist side of things. But we're based in Dublin city centre. So anybody who has a problem with a car, give us a call. There's great lads down there that will just answer the call. If they haven't got the answer, they'll come back to you with it. We book you in, get you looked after. The actual website is bloomfieldgarages.ie. And we have bloomfieldcarsales.ie, so you can see our stock of cars up on Cars Ireland, and we're also on Dundee as well, and also Instagram. Watch out for us on Instagram, because a lot of the stories are great fun.
Yeah,
great fun.
I'd definitely say 100% check out the Instagram account and see what Sean's up to. It's a brilliant piece of content, and just gives you ideas for your business too, for those that are struggling, because yes, you do car sales, services and repairs, but you're creating great content there by having conversational kind of insights behind the scenes. So lots of good tips for you if you're a business owner that way too. But yes, thank you, Alan. We will say
thank you very much, Sharon.
Bye for now, and we'll
thanks everybody.
Bye.
Bye.
See ya.